The laughter came before I even saw her face, sharp and careless. And when I realized it was aimed at me, something in my chest tightened and stayed there. We were standing in the middle of our friend's backyard, plastic cups in hand, summer lights strung overhead. Someone had just asked how long we'd been married. I opened my mouth to answer, but my wife beat me to it. "Long enough for him to stop trying," she said with a smile that invited the group to laugh along with her. They did. Not all of them, but enough. Enough for the sound to echo in my ears while my wife took a sip of her drink, clearly pleased with herself. I smiled too, out of instinct more than anything else. Years of learning how to smooth over moments, how to keep things light, kicked in before I could stop it. I told myself it was just a joke, that couples teased each other, that I was being sensitive. But something about the way she said it felt different, like she wanted it to land. I felt heat rise up my neck, but I didn't snap back. I didn't defend myself. I just said calmly, "That's not how I remember it." The laughter faded faster than it had come. A few people shifted uncomfortably. My wife glanced at me, surprised, then laughed again, louder this time, like she was trying to recover control of the moment. "Oh, please," she said. "You know what I mean." I nodded, still calm. "I know what you said." The conversation drifted away after that, but the air between us felt off for the rest of the night. She barely spoke to me on the drive home. When we pulled into the driveway, she slammed the car door harder than necessary. "What was that about?" she demanded as soon as we were inside. "I could ask you the same thing," I replied. She scoffed. "It was a joke. You embarrassed me." I leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. "You embarrassed me." She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting." That sentence followed me to bed, where she turned her back and fell asleep quickly, leaving me staring into the dark, replaying the laughter in my head. I wondered how long she'd been thinking those things, how long she'd been comfortable saying them out loud. The next few weeks were full of moments like that. Little comments slipped into conversations with friends, jabs disguised as humor, complaints about me framed as stories. Each time I stayed calm. Each time the room shifted. I noticed something else too. The way she checked her phone when she thought no one was looking. The way she seemed energized after nights out, distant afterward. The way she talked about one coworker in particular, his name popping up more often than coincidence would allow. I didn't confront her right away. Part of me was afraid of what I'd find. Another part still hoped I was wrong. One night, after she fell asleep, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I watched it light up. I told myself I wouldn't touch it. I told myself trust mattered. Then it buzzed again. I picked it up. The message wasn't explicit. It didn't need to be. Tonight was fun. Wish we didn't have to pretend. My hands went cold. I read it 3 times, each word settling deeper. Pretend. The word stuck with me. The next day, I paid attention in a way I hadn't before. I noticed how she dressed when she said she was meeting friends. How she corrected herself mid-sentence when talking about plans. How she mocked our marriage more openly now, like she was already distancing herself from it. We went to another gathering a week later. This time, when someone joked about marriage being hard, she laughed and said, "Some of us learn that the hard way." Everyone looked at me. I felt the familiar rush of heat, but I kept my voice steady. "If there's something you want to say," I told her calmly, "you can say it to me, not about me." The silence that followed was thick. She stared at me, stunned. I realized then that my calm scared her more than anger ever could. We left early. At home, she accused me of turning people against her. I accused her of turning our marriage into a punchline. The argument spiraled, voices rising, years of resentment spilling out. "Why are you even still here?" she shouted. The question hung in the air, heavy and revealing. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to, because I needed space to think, to breathe, to accept what was becoming clearer by the day. I wasn't imagining it. Something had shifted, and I was closer to the truth than she realized.
Demorcamli y responded toger. Demorrecles chivecame. It was like chine de dariax centoyaste faeger behavior. And when I didn't have her one, she pushed harder. She started staying out later. Stopped explaining where she'd been. When I asked, she'd shrug and say, does it matter? It mattered. But I was learning that asking the same question repeatedly didn't bring clarity. It just brought denial. One evening, she mocked me again in front of friends. This time about how predictable I was. I waited until the laughter died down. I'm predictable because I'm consistent, I said evenly. That said to be something you appreciated. No one laughed that time. Someone changed the subject. My wife's smile faded, replaced by something tight and unfamiliar. Later that night, she didn't come home. I didn't call. I didn't text. I sat at the kitchen table and let the quiet settle. I talked about all the times I'd smoothed things over. All the times I'd chosen peace over truth. I realized how tired I was of pretending things were fine. She came home just before dawn. I was still awake. We need to talk, I said. She said, already defensive. If this is another lecture. I know about him. She froze. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I simply told her what I knew. The messages. The late nights. The way she'd been tearing me down in public to justify what she was doing in private. Her shoulders slumped. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I know, I said quietly. But it did. She cried. Apologized. Said she felt trapped. Said she hadn't been happy for a long time. I listened without interrupting. For the first time, I didn't rush to fix it. Why humiliate me? I asked when she finished. She looked away. Because it was easier than admitting I was wrong. That answer had more than the affair. We talked for hours. About counseling. About separation. About whether love could survive respect being stripped away piece by piece. I told her in a dead time. Space. Honesty, not performance. I moved out a week later. Living alone was strange at first. Quiet in a way that felt both lonely and peaceful. I replayed moments from our marriage with new understanding. I saw where I had stayed silent too long. Where she had crossed lines I should have made. We met a few times after that. She tried. I could see it. But something essential had changed. I no longer felt small when I spoke. I no longer needed her approval to feel grounded. The final time we met, she asked if I thought we could start over. I took a long breath. I don't want to be mocked by the person was supposed to protect me, I said. And I don't want to lose myself trying to keep you. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I wish she'd realized what I was doing sooner. So do I said. We hugged. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Sad. Honest. That night, I talked about the moment at the party, the laughter, the calm way I had responded. I realized that was the moment everything changed. Not because I stood up to her publicly, but because I finally stood up for myself. Some betrayals are allowed. Others happen slowly, in jokes that cut too deep, in silence that lasts too long. I didn't leave angry. I left clear. And that clarity, painful as it was, gave me something she never could again. Peace.